You sure you can handle things? Relax, Twilight. You act like I haven't handled things in your absence before. Don't look at me like that. I promised I'd never do that again, didn't I? I've made lots of progress in my friendship studies since then. Twilight did her best to keep her face neutral. Apparently that was the poor choice because Starlight's indigenous expression did not abate. She did up into a smile and watched her reflect in tenfold. Twilight's reservations softened. Starlight really did only what to do well and please her. It was so to round her doubt. All right, Starlight, I trust you. But remember, Spike won't be here either, so if you need anything, I'll go for your list of approved emergency contacts. Starlight interrupted. And if they can't help, I'll move on to the emergency list. And if they can't help, I'll move on to the nuclear option and call Pinkie Pie. Right. Reluctantly, Twilight elevated her suitcase and led to her side. Spike restocked the kitchen, so you shouldn't need to do any grocery shopping for the whole 2 weeks, except fresh fruit and vegetables. But I arranged the deliveries from Golden Harvest and Applejack each Friday. Twilight? Yes? Isn't your train at 11 a.m.? Yes, why? Starlight gestured to the clock. It's 10:55. Pony feathers! See you, Starlight. Bye, Twilight. Enjoy The corridor widened out as sheen of teleporty and magic convention. The fridge door was heavier than usual when Starlight opened it. She surveyed the contents, face sinking within each shelf. What's with all this health food? Ugh. She always goes for mother hen when she travels. Does she think I'm a fool who can't feed herself? She nudged at the side of the big kale, as if though it might jump out and bite her. Behind her was another bag of kale. Behind her was a cantaloupe, and then behind that, another bag of kale. She gagged as she ate kale. Hopefully, she turned to the kitchen cupboards instead. 15 minutes later, her worst fears came true. Not a scrap of candy anywhere. It wasn't that she was addicted to sugar, like some ponies, but the idea of spending 2 weeks without so much of a square of chocolate was repulsive. She had been looking forward to this break from her studies, but evenings without a mug of hot chocolate and a packet of cookies, well, it was unthinkable. Twilight hated cookies around her books. Starlight never ate them when she was around, but when the cat was away, Starlight replaced everything, so it looked like it hadn't been touched in the first place. It was time to go shopping. Wow, this is a lot of candy. Starlight grinned weakly, wishing everyone in Ponyville wasn't so quite interested in each other's lives. She could never quite get past the idea that they were judging her, or that their judgment found her wanting in a fundamental way. It wasn't normal for ponies to come into the candy store to buy candy. Well, I'm running a book club, and it's my turn to bring the snacks. Bonbon nodded sagely. Usually ponies go for cheese and crackers for stuffy book clubs. I'm glad to see you're a pony of a better taste. Starlight sagged, gratitude pooling in her belly. Yeah. Sweets are way better than talking about books. But you don't worry about getting melted chocolate on the pages? I imagine Princess Twilight would get pretty neurotic about stuff like that. Bonbon leaned across the counter. When she was a librarian, I once brought a cookbook with the tiniest cocoa powder stain on the cover, and she went ballistic. She chased me right out of the library tree and banned me from ever borrowing books again. Yeah, I could picture her doing something like that. It was comforting to know that her teacher wasn't perfect either. But no, she doesn't mind. Bonbon arched an eyebrow. Well, yes, she does mind, but I have a paper restoration spell ready to use if that happens. She had perfected on the cookie crumbs, but it was acceptable with all the stains. She was sure Twilight would be none wiser than when she got home. Bonbon's smile was a little sharper than Starlight may have liked. Yet, she said nothing more as she shoveled jawbreakers into a brown paper bag and weighed them on the old-fashioned scales that dominated the counter. That'll be 52 bits. Starlight winced and levitated the money from her purse without a comment. I sure hope the ponies at your book club appreciate how you're spending them. Bonbon raised her voice over the jangle of crash of the cashier. What are you guys reading anyways? Lyra was looking for a new hobby A book club might be just the thing to get her out of under the hooves each week. Mythic wishes, traumatical constructs, and other physical realm-based magical furies? Maybe not. She's more of a daring-do kind of girl. Well, have a nice day, and be sure to mention my shop to those clever ponies at your book club. Ask where you got so much awesome candy. Starlight exited gratefully, her heavy saddlebag pulled at her spine as she began to walk home. Making the small talk was hard. Did every pony find it difficult as she did? Or was this again just something out of which she shrugged because she was such a Starlight? Oh no, Starlight Glimmer! Oh no, a splash of colored coals landed on the street in front of her, followed by a backwash of her air so strong that if she had not been weighed down by her saddlebags, Starlight would have been knocked over. Hi, Rainbow Dash, she deadpanned. Rainbow hopped from the hoof to hoof, like the ground was made of metal. You gotta come quick. It's an emergency. What? Twilight's not around and she's probably gonna need a unicorn and Rarity's Manhattan at that stupid store of hers and... Whoa, slow down. What's the emergency? Who needs a unicorn? Applejack. Applejack needs a unicorn? Uh-huh. Why? Rainbow looked at her, like she just stared at 2 plus equal 22. Duh, she needs a new magic. What? Rainbow, you're not making any sense. Slow down. Ugh. Rainbow clapped both of her forehoofs onto her face and dragged them down. Every atom of her being shouted that Starlight Glimmer was the dumbest pony in the universe right now. Starlight Glimmer simultaneously bristled and cringed. Applejack thinks that the new pack of Timberwolves have been busting down the fences at the edge of her property. She thinks they have, but she doesn't know they have. She went to check it out alone. She's gonna get totally herself killed, and I'm awesome, but I can't even take out a whole pack of Timberwolves. It takes magic. Starlight's mouth hardened into a thin line. Where did you say she went? Northfield, right on the edge of the Everfree. Come on, dump those saddlebags and I can fly us there. No! Starlight grabbed Rainbow's hooves. This is faster. Starlight did not know that Sweet Apple Acres as well as Rainbow Dash, so when her teleport dumped them into a field the next one they actually wanted, Rainbow wasted no time in telling her, nor flying off. Starlight was left to gallop and puffing. This way! Do you realize this is all precautionary away, right? Starlight panted. Applejack may not even have... A howl came from a tree line cut her off. Damn it. Come on! Rainbow Dash shot away. Hurry up! Starlight powered through the broken fence that marked the edge of Sweet Apple Acres. She was no expert, but in deep gouges that the soft ground looked like claw marks, and those were grooves on the uprooted fence posts from the sudden teeth. Breaking wood and yelling pulled her forward. Take that, you varmints! Applejack! Rainbow Dash shouted. We're coming, hold on! Dash, stand back. They're a lot bigger than I thought. I brought Starlight. You weren't! Applejack's response was cut short by an agonized yelp. AJ! Rainbow Dash disappeared into a volley of branches and crackling prismatic trail. Starlight followed the debris into the tunnel, literally carved out by the force of Rainbow Dash's speed. As she drew closer, hopping over the rugs and through the bracken, the noise of what could only be the fight ever became more apparent. Even so, when she bust through the undergrowth, just in time to see Rainbow Dash buck a barn-sized Timberwolf in the eye, to make it drop Applejack and pulled up short. Oh, wow, that's big. Applejack screamed as the Timberwolf bit down. Whoa! Another Timberwolf leapt at Rainbow Dash from behind, stopped by only telekinetically launched from the saddlebags, shooting straight out of the corner center of its face, sending its nose at the back of its skull. Its body collapsed onto the ground, shattering on impact. Starlight, hurry! It's gonna crush her! Rainbow called desperately. Starlight was sweaty, tired, and frustrated. But more than that, she was angry. And an angry Starlight Glimmer was something that this pack of overgrown saplings had not anticipated when they picked this fight. The big brute was biting down at Applejack's midsection, yipped in surprise when its lower jaw was torn off and tossed away over by the trees. Rainbow angled down to catch Applejack before she could hit the ground, but a cloud of turquoise magic caught the limp orange body and moved it to a safer spot. Starlight advanced on the confused wolf, each step punctured by a halo of magic that lassoed onto its feet. The 3 smaller wolves and Panalax around leapt forward, clearly thinking to take her while she was distracted, but each found themselves similarly ensnarled. They barked and whined piteously at the magic called them up, legs splayed like a grotesque giant piñatas. With noise akin to the 3 gigantic trees being felled at once, her magic ripped off of her legs and feet, managing each and flinging parts as she could into the depths of the Everfree. The Starlead wolf watched, her green eyes wide with fear. Starlight pointed. "Stay away from here! Next time you won't be able to put yourselves back together!" It screeched as she ripped it up, like it was made of paper, and scattered into pieces far and wide. She kept the face for the last, hoping some vestige of memory from this experience would remain of what invented to be reformed with the flick of her head. She crunched the snout up to its eye sockets and watched the green flicker out. Tired, she'd finally let go of her telekinesis and sank into her knees. "Starlight, Applejack's hurt real bad." Grunting, she got back up to her feet and hurried over to where Applejack lay. Rainbow hunched over her, one wing trailing from a purple bend that swelled into what looked like a break. She had caught Starlight looking scowled. "I tried to catch her, and you knocked me into a tree, but I'm fine." "No, you're not fine." "Okay, no, it hurts like Tartarus, but she's worse than I am now." Starlight could not disagree. Applejack lay on her side, deep slashes along her spine knit from the Timberwolf's upper fangs. Her stomach, however, was far worse. Her entire undercarriage glistened red, shards of ribs poking through the irregular intervals. Something like pink rope slivered free when she groaned. Starlight realized that one of her hind legs had been nearly detached from the hip, held only by a few threads of skin and fur. But they were fighting over her, Rainbow stuttered. She was a frickin' chew toy. Starlight stared. She swallowed again, but the words could not come out. What are you waiting for? Do something. Use your magic." Starlight bit her lip. She knew some healing spells from her time running the village, but nothing this level. She could set broken bones, soothe them up small wounds, but there was more than a simple first aid spell could not handle. She supposed she could simply try to turn up the power on the spell that she did know and hope for the best. In the self-doubt, throw more magic at the problem, right? That had always worked in the past. Except that it had not. Recent instances wherein she tries to fix problems with magic squirm through her mind, almost none of them had worked. Not turning Sunburst into a cult, not mind controlling her friends, not helping Pinkie Pie look for Gummy's parents in Alligator Swamp. "Starlight!" Rainbow gripped her cheeks and forced her to faces together until they were nose to nose. "Focus. Don't freak out on me, okay? I need you not to freak out right now. Focus now, freak out later. Applejack may be dying. There has to be some spell in that big brain of yours to fix her long enough for us to get her to the hospital." Of course. What have she been thinking? She didn't need to heal Applejack entirely. She just needed to do enough to stop her from dying from the proper medical ponies could heal her. Why hasn't she thought of that? Starlight nodded, mouth squashed from the press of rainbow hooves. "Focus now, freak out later," she lisped. "Okay," Rainbow released her. "Now for Buck's sake, do something. Okay? I'm gonna need you to take a step back and not touch her. No matter what, do not touch Applejack. Okay? Whatever. Get with the magic already." She gritted her teeth and reached into her internal reserve, pushing raw magic into her horn. She muttered extracts of an old textbook under her breath, envisioning matrices from forming the raw power into right shapes before releasing it. Healing was delicate work, and her magic was far more hoof mace than scalpel. Slowly she eased the intestine on the ground, put it back into the Applejack's belly. There was dirt on it and a bit of dead leaf, but that would be okay. The medical ponies at the hospital could take care of that. Starlight drew the spell along the edges of the gut wound, pulling them together where they had parted under from the Timberwolf's teeth. Abruptly, Applejack started to convulse. Her eyes rolled up in her damaged back arch, forcing the pained grunts up her throat, and her body thrashed beyond her control. Spittle gathered around the corners of her mouth. Her tongue flopped out on the side, smeared with blood and dirt. Starlight lost her hold for a wound. Damn it! She urged one more magic to her horn, spreading the base of her spell matrix to cover Applejack's whole body. She tried to summon anesthesia incantation she had learned long ago, but her thoughts jumbled as Applejack's convulsions worsened. The base of the matrix started to fracture as her concentration lapsed. No, no, no! What is it? What is happening? She ignored Rainbow's questions. Her internal power reserves were depleting. She needed to think of something fast. Don't do this, Applejack. Don't you dare die! Applejack's breathing hitched and stopped. Oh no! Starlight, what happened? Why isn't she breathing? Applejack? Applejack! Starlight squeezed her eyes shut, summoned a bolt of raw power, and channeled it through her horn directly into Applejack's chest. She felt the jam into the earth pony's heart, trying to jumpstart it like electric paddles, before fizzing away into the limbs and therefore after the ground. Grass burned to its roots while the raw magic touched, leaving a smoking ring around them. She set another heart bolt, and then desperate one into her lungs, until Applejack's mouth gaped and sucked in air. Yes! Except this time she was screaming, and Starlight realized that she had repeated bolts of magic running through Applejack's limbs, and severed the final strips of flesh holding her hind leg. It lay smoking on the ground, a charred lump where it used to be attached, and thanks to Starlight's magic, all of Applejack's nerve endings were alive and in the pain of it. What the buck did you do? Rainbow Dash demanded. What the buck did you do, absolute psycho? Applejack flailed, trying instinctively to roll onto her hooves, but her remaining hind legs snagged into her exposed intestine. She floundered and not understanding what was happening. Crushing it with her hoof, she moved over the destroyed organ, oozed and turned to black ichor and blood. Applejack, please, you have to. Applejack, stop! I can help you! You have to lay down so I can fix this! Starlight ignited her horn and recast a healing matrix, swooping over Applejack's belly and leg stump. I can fix this, so we can take it to the hospital. Please just... She winded the spell, peeling off a loop of magic to try to half remember the anesthesia and incantation. You're making it worse. Please just do as you're told. Applejack's screams turned wet and guttural, red from foam sprayed in the air. Her skull smacked on the ground, needless of Starlight worlds. This is all going wrong. There was no other choice. She could have turned up the power. If in doubt, throw one more magic problem. It may not be the best plan, but it was all Starlight could think of. Reaching deep, she pulled every scrap of power she had left and channeled it into her horn, which it glowed white hot, casting eerie shadows around them. She knew her eyes were shining with power. Her hooves were on the floor, bioed and nimbus to the magical might. What are you? Starlight! Starlight! Hold still. Her voice echoed, like something from a nightmare. She readied and aimed and fired up the amped spells. This will end her pain. You're crazy? You're gonna kill her! I knew we couldn't trust you! Rainbow grabbed Applejack, apparently trying to pull her out of the way. Rainbow Dash, no! Starlight's voice faded into static that filled her ears. She knew her mouth was moving, but there was no sound. She knew her eyes were open, but she saw nothing. She knew her body was moving, but did not feel the impact as she was thrown back. Rainbow Dash screamed. Applejack screamed. Starlight did not. Apple Bloom knocked on the castle door. She wrinkled her nose when she preferred it was Twilight Sparkle lived in the library tree, and knocking on her door not felt so much of an implosion. The library door made a pleasant rat-a-tat, tat-tat under ballet-laid hoof. The castle door sounded more like it was a thumping pane of glass. What are you sure they're here? Scootaloo asked. Well, where else would they be? We already checked everywhere else. Yeah, but Princess Twilight is out of town. Starlight Glimmer's still here. Do they even really like her? Scootaloo rubbed the back of her neck. I've always get the feeling she was more of a charity case than a friend, you know. Scootaloo, Sweetie Belle chested. What an awful thing to say. Well, it's true. She's like some pony who used to do bad things to other ponies or something, right? And Princess Twilight has been teaching her how not to be awful and become a better pony. That doesn't sound like friendship to me. That sounds like She stopped talking as the double great doors opened. Hello, Starlight said, looking down at them. Oh, hello, girls. Cutie Mark Crusaders, right? Her smile was tight to corners, although it did not want to offend them. Crusaders. Apple Bloom stepped forward. We're the Cutie Mark Crusaders. Oh, yes, right. Starlight's smile stretched even tighter. Come to think of it, Apple Bloom thought it was more of a ruckus than a smile. Can I help you with something? Are you selling cookies? Because I would really love some cookies right now. No, we're looking for my sister. Your sister? And Rainbow Dash, Scootaloo added. She's practically my sister too. Well, why? Scootaloo frowned. Because she was meant to give me a workout session today and she never showed. Anytime they disappear without a word like that, they're usually here on friendship business because of that map thingy, Apple Bloom explained. Oh, well, not quite. Not quite? They're not here for a friendship quest of the map. But they are here. Apple Bloom ticked her head to the one side. Starlight Glimmer bit her lower lip and glanced over her shoulder. Scootaloo's eyes narrowed before she could say anything. The mirror spoke again. They're here on friendship business. For me, my friendship was a bit of a crisis, and I brought them here to help. Oh, well, can you ask them of what time you'll all be done? Granny's mighty ornery about some busted fences she wants AJ to fix. Oh, yeah, I can ask them that. Starlight's smile slipped and darted back through the door, shutting it behind her. All three Crusaders blinked. You're right, Scoots. Definitely a charity case. Scootaloo folded her forelegs. I can't believe Rainbow threw me over for her. I'm sure she had a good reason, Apple Bloom reassured. Like what, blackmail? Scootaloo's eyes widened. I bet it was blackmail. Yeah, that's right. She never missed out a session with just hanging out with weird ponies like Starlight Glimmer unless she was being blackmailed into it. Evidently, placed by the interpretation of events, she allowed her four hooves to fall to the ground and tapped irritably. Sheesh, what's taking her so long? I don't like her, Sweetie Belle said softly. There's something weird about her. No, duh, Scootaloo huffed. Maybe someday Princess Twilight graduates her or knights her, whatever, and she leaves to go on a friendship quest with someone else in Equestria and takes her stinky blackmail with her. Scootaloo's tiny wings fluffed. They fell into a complicated silence, with each caught up in their own thoughts until the doors reopened, and Starlight's white smile appeared in the gap. They are... Apple Bloom got on her hooves. What the heck is going on here? You're acting awful weird, Miss Glimmer. No, I'm not. If Starlight's smile got any wider, it was going to split her ears to the tips. Applejack and Rainbow Dash are just tell us where they are. Scootaloo's wingtips reached for the sky, back arched. We're right here. The door was shuttered open. Around Starlight, a pair of much more athletic bodies. Rainbow flickered her tail and smirked down at the Crusaders. Celestia's butt, Scoots overreact much? You... Scootaloo drew herself up. You missed wing workouts. Rainbow's eyes round. Oh my gosh, I totally spaced out on that. I'm sorry, Scoots. Applejack had this thing with some Timberwolves. Timberwolves? Apple Bloom echoed. Now, don't go worrying, Applejack reassured her. Things got a little hairy, but Starlight fixed me up. Plus, I doubt I'll be in trouble by the varmints after what she did to them. Starlight bowed her head. I didn't do much. Any unicorn could have done the same. You stove into their faces with your dang saddlebags, Sugar Cube. Her smile fell. Yeah, well, they were really full and really heavy, so they did more damage than ordinarily have. Pshaw, Applejack slug before forehead over her shoulders and pulled her half hug that created a first real smile. Apple Bloom had seen Starlight Glimmer's face today. You saved my life. Don't bettle on that. Why, I reckon Twilight herself could have done better. Really? Darn tootin'. I owe you many favors after this. But for now, I better get home. I'm guessing my family's pretty worried about where I've been all day. You didn't tell Granny where you were going? Apple Bloom confirmed. She's angry about some busted fences. I bet mayhap she won't be when I tell her I got busted by a runaway timberwolf who was worrying our cows. Yeah, that might do it. Applejack unslung her forehead and tipped her hat at Starlight. Be seeing you, Starlight. I'll speak to Granny Smith about inviting you all to her dinner in honor of today. You like apple pie? If it's got lots of sugar in it, I'll love it. Does your granny bake? And apple cookies by any chance? Applejack laughed. I'll let her know to make some. Come on, Apple Bloom. Yeah, come on, Scoots. Still got time for some wing workouts? Do I ever? Scootaloo dashed back Scooter at the bottom of the staircase. Bye, Starlight. Rainbow Dash waved vigorously. Applejack matched her vigor. Later, Sugar Cube. Bye, guys. I'd say it's been fun, but I'd be lying. Starlight backed up with the closed doors with a successive click. Sweetie Belle, Scootaloo buckled on her helmet. Do you want me to drop you off the Carousel Boutique on the way? Yeah, sure thing. Casting one of the uneasy look at the castle, Sweetie Belle hopped into the wagon and they sped away. Slick with nervous sweat, Starlight had slid down with her to squeak. She froze, as if someone outside might have heard it too. She barely breathed it for a few seconds, ears flickering to catch the monotonous sound of little wings buzzing by. Only when her lungs burned did she release her breath to get to her hoofs. That had been far too close, warily. She had picked her way across the foyer and down one of the castle's multifarious corridors. It was work for a moment to manipulate the coded lock and enchantment Twilight had placed in her laboratory aside of the door. She stepped down the dark staircase. She lit her horn with her sparks that she had left reflected, and then her teacher could invest in some electric lighting instead of relying on her magical glow lanterns. They were pretty, but their light was meager and more than she once had her lost footing on the stairs, hurrying them up just how bruised the shins, and she already knew they were hurt undoubtedly tomorrow, unless the bathroom cabinet maliciously still have these anti-bruise intricate left. The moaning was audible from halfway down the stairs. She sighed and grabbed one of the lanterns. It levitated ahead of her, catching the splayed tail hair first, and then the curve of the haunch and the scrap of ragged belly, before she moved into the far corner of the lab and fumbled with Twilight's chemistry set. She had left it on low heat, and just hoped that it hadn't boiled dry. If it had, she would have to start over, and would be very vexing indeed. Star! Her eyes flickered. Her shoulders slumped. She couldn't answer. Thankfully the mixture hadn't burned. She sighed in relief and added the power Griffin heart. The solution turned pleasing shade of green. Sta-la. The utter ended in a dry grating noise from a throat ill suited to speech. It sounded painful, yet the noise come again. Stop! Starlight removed the flask from his clamps and turned around. Don't hurt yourselves. Self? She shook her head. Just stop. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Green and pink eyes stared up at her, arranged from no order and mist from the marble orange and blue fur. One of them still had a tear cut. It was leaking. Stop! Gurgled a strange, doubtful throat. I told you not to touch her, Rainbow. Why couldn't you do as you were told? I warned you, didn't I? Starlight shook her head. What am I saying? I always warn you. You'd never listen. Maybe this time I got it and the new dash is more biddable. You know what they say, 5th time's the charm, right? She stepped towards the wavering mass of exposed shin, bone, and fiasca. Next to the spot where she extracted the flesh portions for their regrowth was a bare lung, inflating and deflating. She had averted her steps to a portion more covered in fur. New Applejack is certainly an improvement this time, like how she seems friendlier than to you when you were. You! Look, I'm sorry. I tried. I really did. I even try not to use too much magic this time, but I can't afford to fail again. Her ears drooped. I can't let Twilight down. I've built a new life here. If I have so much to lose if I make mistakes. She spirited the green liquid around the abomination and stepped back. But for what it's worth, I am really sorry. I have made improvements to try and keep them from taking risks like that again. More fear this time, less bullheadedness, and less distrust of me. So they'll do as I say without thinking I'm... She bit her lip at the memory. A psycho. I'll do my best to protect them. She ignited her horn with the same flame spell. I promise. The mass of flesh screamed as it was set ablaze. A magical accelerant raced across its surface, tearing a fur and scorching skin into split and curled into the blackened spirals. Subconsciously, fat bubbling and spat. The exposed lung quivered as juices trapped inside were boiled until it exploded. Bones cracked and splintered, marrow hardening and fissuring into dust. After less than 2 minutes, all that remained was a shrinking ball of grayish ash that popped and vanished. Starlight cleaned up after herself meticulously, being especially careful with the corked bottle of mere pool water. Twilight would never guess that her equipment had been used. Starlight would have never used any of the lab's raw materials, especially given that they weren't rare or erotic enough for their needs when she was desperate enough to need the lab like this. As she replaced the lock, her stomach rumbled. She remembered she had lost the saddlebags and grumbled. For sure of all that candy stung practically, she resolved to go to Sugar Cube Corner and see whatever the extra generosity she had implanted into Pinkie Pie to get her a free cookie. I could totally handle things here, she murmured. Totally. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video. And I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.